All right, let's end the model paralysis once and for all. Welcome to part 6 of the Dargslan series, where we're going to settle the Llama versus Mistral versus Qwen versus Phi question, not with hype, but with a real decision matrix. By the end, you'll know exactly which family fits your task, which size fits your hardware, and which quantization is the right trade-off for your use case. And here's the entire framework. 3 questions asked in order. First, what's the task? Chat, code, multilingual, long documents. That picks your family. Second, how much VRAM do you actually have? Your hardware sets a hard ceiling on model size. 8 gigs gets you an 8B at Q4, 24 gigs opens the door to 14B at Q8 or even 70B at Q4. Third, speed or quality. Q4 is faster and smaller with a tiny accuracy hit. Q8 is slower but near perfect. Answer these 3 in this order and the choice really does pick itself. Starting with question 1, the task. For general chat and Q&A, Llama 3.1 is the safe default, well-aligned, huge ecosystem. For code, Qwen 2.5 coder regularly beats models twice its size. Multilingual work including Hungarian. Qwen 2.5 again, need raw speed. Phi 3.5 mini punches at 7B with under 4B params. Long PDFs. Llama 3.1's 128K context. And for creative writing, Mistral 7B or Nemo. Less corporate sanding, more actual voice. Pick your row and move on. On to question 2, hardware. The rule is simple. Take the biggest model that fits, then leave about 20% headroom for context. On 8 gigs of CPU RAM, you're looking at Phi 3.5 Mini or Llama 3.2 3B. 16 gigs opens up quantized 7 and 8B models. With a GPU, 8 gigs of VRAM runs an 8B at Q4, 12 gigs gets you a 14B at Q4, and once you're at 24 plus, you're in 70B territory. Find your row, note the candidates, and we'll narrow further next. Now that you've got candidate models sized to your hardware, quantization is the next lever, and honestly, it's mostly a solved problem. Q4 KAM is what Ollama grabs by default, and it's the right call 95% of the time. Reach for Q80 only when accuracy genuinely matters more than speed. Think legal or medical work where a wrong token costs you. And Q3 or Q2, skip them. If Q4 won't fit, drop to a smaller model instead. You'll get better results. With those 3 questions answered, you need to actually order the right model, and Ollama's tag format encodes everything you've just decided. Take Llama 3.1 8B Instruct Q4 KPM. The first piece is the family inversion, so Llama 3.1 versus Qwen 2.5 or Mistral. The number after the colon is parameter count in billions, your hardware constraint, and the tail end carries the variant. Instruct means chat-tuned, which is almost always what you want, followed by the quantization, read left to right, and you're reading task, hardware, trade-off. Now let's zoom in on that variant tag because picking the wrong one is how people end up thinking a good model is broken. Instruct is your default. It follows requests. It's what you want 99% of the time. Chat is essentially the same thing tuned for multi-turn dialogue, and on modern models, the line between them is blurry. Base is raw completion, no alignment. It'll just keep typing instead of answering you. And coder variants trade general chat quality for stronger programming output, so reach for those only when code is the job. So let's translate all that theory into commands you can actually paste. On a CPU-only laptop, Llama 3.2 or Phi 3.5 will run fast and stay under 3 gigs. If you've got a GPU, Llama 3.1 to 8B is the sweet spot. That Q4 bar KM quantization is the sensible default. For coding work, grab Qwen 2.5 coder, and if you need solid multilingual support, including something like Hungarian, the general Qwen 2.5, at 7B punches well above its weight. But here's the thing. Don't take my word for it, and definitely don't take a leaderboard's word for it. Pick a prompt that actually mirrors your real work, then pipe it through 2 or 3 candidates back to back. Score them on what matters to you. correctness, style, and speed. The model that wins your tasks stays, the rest get deleted. That's how you end the paralysis. Which brings us to benchmarks themselves. Treat them with healthy skepticism. A lot of models score high because they've literally seen the test questions during training. Contamination is rampant. And even when scores are honest, MMLU trivia and human evil Python puzzles probably have nothing to do with summarizing your emails or translating internal docs. Use leaderboards as a course filter. If a model bombs the basics, skip it. But past the top 3, your own eval is the only ranking that matters. So rather than leave you to run your own evals from scratch, here's what this series will standardize on from Part 7 forward. If you're on a laptop or anything CPU-bound, pull Llama 3.2 3B, 2 gigs, loads in about 3 seconds, Q4 por Qwen Quantization. If you've got 8 gigs of VRAM or more, go with Llama 3.18B at 4.7 gigs. That's the sweet spot for quality and speed. Pick your lane, pull the model, and let's move on. Before you pull anything, let me save you some pain with the 4 traps that make people swear local AI doesn't work. First, don't pick the biggest model that fits. A 70B at Q2 is usually worse than a 14B at Q8, so treat Q4 for Chem as your floor before scaling up. Second, grab the Instruct variant, not the base. Base models continue your text instead of answering it. Third, stick to official Ollama library models so your tokenizer actually matches the weights. And fourth, stop chasing every new release on our local Llama. Pick a default, run it for a month, then reevaluate. So here's the whole presentation collapsed into one screen. Walk these questions top to bottom and stop at the first yes. No GPU laptop, Llama 3.23B or Phi 3.5 Mini, coding heavy work, Qwen 2.5 Coder 7B, Hungarian or other non-English. Qwen 2.57B punches well above its weight. Need creative writing without the safety lectures? Mistral 7B or Nemo. Otherwise, with 8 gigs of VRAM, Llama 3.18B is your default. And if you've got 16 gigs and want the ceiling, jump to Qwen 2.5 14B at Q8 or Llama 3.1 70B at Q4. Task, hardware, trade-off, one path, one model, done. Let's lock in the 5 things worth remembering. 3 questions decide everything. Task picks the family, hardware picks the size, your speed quality trade-off picks the quantization. Q4KM is the default for almost everyone, so trust it. Always grab the Instruct variant, not the base. Run your own prompts because public benchmarks won't tell you what works for your work. And then actually commit. Pick one model, live with it for a month, and you'll learn more than you would by chasing every new release. This is the page to bookmark. If you're on CPU, start with Llama 3.2. On a typical GPU, Llama 3.1.8B. Writing code, grab Qwen 2.5 Coder. Need multilingual, plain Qwen 2.5.7B. Want something tiny and fast, Efishai 3.5. Got 16 gigs of VRAM, step up to Qwen 2.5 14B. Got 24 or more, Llama 3.1.70B is in reach. Trust Q4KM. Always pick the Instruct variant and only reach for the Q8 suffix when quality really matters. And that wraps Part 6, Model Literacy, Unlocked. You've now got the decision matrix, match the task, respect the hardware, accept the trade-off. Pick one model from that list and actually run it before the next session, because Part 7 is where things get interesting. Prompt engineering for local LLMs. Spoiler, the prompts you've been copying from GPT-4 tutorials will absolutely fall apart on an 8B model, and we'll fix that next. See you there.